Am invitat ca să comentăm ce s-a întâmplat astăzi pe domnul Kass. Este un fost diplomat, expert în securitate, care de altfel a lucrat cu prima administrație Trump, deci este cel mai în măsură să ne decripteze câteva dintre mesajele președintelui Donald Trump de astăzi. Kass, hi, thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Ramon. It's great to be here. Thank you.
You've worked with the previous Trump administration. You've heard the message the president gave today.
Right.
He promised a golden age for America.
Yes.
What does this mean for the rest of the world, this age?
Well, I think the first thing is, this is a really remarkable speech by him. I mean, he has talked about some of these themes in previous speeches that he's made, even in his last inauguration. But the fact that he's doing it now with a mandate to run the government of the United States and to make very much needed reforms, I think is changing the nature of the game. He clearly wants to focus, I believe, on the domestic agenda, which means to, as he said before, root out the deep state, end lawfare, expand freedom of speech, all of these things that over the last 9 years, and particularly over the last 4 under the Biden administration, had become rooted in Washington. This all has to change if we're going to recapture any of our former stature. We're going to have to change dramatically on foreign policy as well. And as you recall, he said that he will judge himself in part by his strong military, also by his getting out of wars and to avoid unnecessary wars. And I think this is actually quite good news if we look at the ground truth in the region. I mean, think about it from the perspective of Romania. Romania has no love lost for the Russian regime. There's no question. Neither does President Trump in particular. Nobody is looking for them as a guide in any way, shape, or form. But we consider that when the war started, Russia was far away. And unfortunately, as the war has progressed to Russia's favor, this is bringing the prospect of Russia getting closer and closer to Romanian territory. And I know that many, many Romanians, not just voters, but people have been very concerned about that. So I'm hoping that we can end that war and also use that as an opportunity to re-energize the actually existing NATO alliance. So one of the problems that I think NATO has faced has been that under the previous regime, we were using it as a way to project power in areas that was rather unadvisable. I mean, led to huge strategic dilemmas like we're confronting right now. Purpose of NATO is defensive. The purpose of NATO is to defend NATO territory. Romania is a NATO ally and has been an extraordinary ally, going along with even the previous administration. I think even at the sacrificing its own interests in some respects in doing so. So I think that what's good is that President Trump comes in, he wants to end the war, he wants to try to end that in a way that won't lead to greater threats. He wants to protect NATO, but he also has expectations that NATO will, and the NATO countries outside of the United States will take on even more of a burden. So we know that he used to talk about 3% of GDPs, now he's talking about 5%. I think of this.
What does this mean for Romania? Exactly. We are at 2.5. Right. It was okay till now, right, but we are far from 5%.
Well, I think partly it's an effort by the president's administration to gauge Romania's commitment, and with the new president coming in, but it also is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to expand the industrial base of Romania, particularly when it comes to defense. And as you know, I'm here in Washington right now promoting a American-Romanian business roundtable, which will have enormous implications, I think, for Romania, particularly because there's a huge defense sector. Now, I know your viewers know Nawaf Salameh, who is one of Romania's leading businessmen, and he is working very closely with former SACEUR commander James Jones to set this up. So we're talking about connecting with people at the highest echelons of the military, and not just former military, but we're talking about people from all different parties. Doesn't matter what their political affiliation is. If they want to invest, if they want to make a profit, if they also want to help build up the infrastructure of Romania, then they're all welcome. Republican, Democrats, it's all about that. And the purpose is, I think, to the extent that we can get American know-how and sort of a way of doing business into Romania that will have an enormous impact on private sector, public sector relations and lead to, I think, much needed reform in the functioning and apparatus of the state in Romania. And that's, as you know, that's something that probably is past time that happens. So I'm looking forward to this as an opportunity, frankly. And I think that there's every reason to be optimistic that this will be something really great.
People talk a lot about Donald Trump's very transactional approach towards his partners. Besides defense, which you've already mentioned, what has Romania to put on the table in this relationship with the new Trump administration?
Well, first of all, I understand people say that about Donald Trump, and there's probably something to that. He's a very practical man. But if you listen to what he was talking about today, and I've been thinking about the themes that he's talking about, freedom of speech, democracy, ending, sort of authoritarian rule and bureaucratic overreach. These are enormous, profound issues that have great importance beyond just the moment. One of the other issues he mentioned is energy, and this is actually something that directly affects Romania. Romania is potentially sitting on a huge amount of resources in Neptune Deep. It has a hugely important port facility in Constanța, and I think that it's becoming even more strategically important. Or put it this way, the world's awareness of the strategic importance of Romania is growing, particularly when you consider what's happening up in the north, on the northern part of the Black Sea. So energy is going to be a key. I think Romania can be the energy hub for the region and help the region wean itself, to the extent it still is on it, from Russian gas and oil and the influence that comes with that. I mean, we're involved in the energy business, and we know that there are a lot of people out there who are seeking to covertly promote Russian influence through these kinds of means. It's a constant battle for us. It's a constant battle for the state. And I think that there's every reason to expect that the more we get from the West, the more we get resources from the West, from the United States to come in and to be distributed throughout this region, not just Romania, but these other countries, that there will be a concomitant decrease in Russian covert influence, shall we say, here in this region of the world. And also economically, it's going to be of an enormous benefit because it will drop prices of essential resources, make it easier for people to live, and also will undercut one of the big Russian playing cards, which has been the money that they've made from the high prices that have been sustained by the war.
Could the next presidential elections in Romania change anything in the partnership with the United States? Are people concerned about it in Washington, D.C.?
Well, I think obviously when you have the kind of challenge that Romania has faced in the last few months, that is something that has registered. And we've seen effects of that. People have been responding on Twitter, etc. So I think that's legitimate, particularly for an administration that itself survived an extraordinary amount, as the president himself mentioned today in his speech, an extraordinary amount of pressure, unprecedented in American history. So I think that that's part of it, but I also think that the full picture of the issue is one that will be fleshed out. There is lots of concern, even in the Trump administration, about Russia and Russian influence. There's legitimate concern about that. There is overall a great interest in stability. And I would just say, as someone who's been observing political unrest in various parts of the world for more than 3 decades, the key is that the party that is seen as bringing the instability is often the loser in this whole situation. So care needs to be taken to ensure that whatever is being done is done in the interest of stability, but also in the interest of the kinds of principles that we want to uphold. Because if we're talking about, any country in the world, and we're talking about them operating in the world that exists, and particularly in this region, we have to sort of understand the obligations as that goes forward. So I imagine that this is still going to be something that's coming to the administration. They're going to be formulating their ideas. It's really interesting, and I can go on just one more second with this. But when you come into power in the White House, all the offices are empty, everything, there's not a shred of documentation, it's all gone, they've taken it off. So you're literally, in a way, starting from scratch, and you're trying to say, okay, what do I need to know? How do I evaluate this sort of thing based on information that I need to acquire now? So I think that has a very, very interesting and educative effect on things, and we'll see how that plays out.
Kass, thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you so much.